we're going to be building a toy, so stay right where you are. Hey everybody, welcome back and thank you for joining us again here on This Printed Thing. In this video, we're going to be printing and building a toy. So my 4-year-old daughter loves Wall-E. You've seen Wall-E. He's the cute little robot from Disney's Pixar movie. Well, my little girl loves this little robot. And for Christmas, my plan is to 3D print the pieces and build a fully articulating Wall-E for my little girl. I found the files online and they're free to download, so if this video sparks some inspiration for you, for maybe your child, or just even for yourself, I mean, come on, Wall-E's cool. I'll leave a link in the description for where you can find these files. But let's get right to it. In my last video, I showed you guys the box that contained my new Prusa i3 Mark 3S Plus, which after many hours of dealing with little tiny plastic parts and little tiny screws and nuts, I have assembled. And you see it here, and I have to say it is a wonderful machine. I also have the Mosaic Palette 3 Pro, which allows me to print in multiple colors, but we're not going to be using this in this video. We're just going to be using this because all the pieces that I'm going to be printing are all single color, so I don't need to worry about splicing different colors of filaments together. All the pieces, the individual pieces, are single color, so I can print them all on this machine, and this machine gives me such a good print that I'm just going to print them all on this machine. As much as I love my Viper, the Viper's going to sit this one out. So let's get started. So I know I said that I wouldn't use the palette in this video. However, there are parts of Wall-E that I think would look better if we used multiple materials and multiple colors to make them. If you look at the front of Wall-E, he has that logo on him with his name, and it's in a different color from the rest of his body. So I'm going to use the Palette 3 Pro to make that happen. So I'm here in Canvas, which is the slicer that is used for the Palette 3 Pro. And if you may be interested in possibly purchasing a Palette 3 Pro, you can actually create a free account with Mosaic, which is the manufacturer of the palette, and you can use and play with Canvas for free. But I'm going to import Wall-E's body. And it just takes a minute to upload. It's kind of a big file for an STL. So this is Wall-E's body, and basically it just folds up once you print it. The part that I want to color is this right here where it says Wall-E. So I want the wall and the dot. There's a dot, right? Hey, there's a dot. Okay. I want the wall and the dot to be black and the E to be surrounded by red with white in the middle of it. So that's what I'm going to do here. So first off, I need to select my device, which is the 3 Pro. So that tells Canvas that I'm going to be using the Palette 3 Pro with this project. Let's turn this around again. We're going to set our colors. The Palette 3 Pro, which I have, can take up to 8 colors. We're really only going to use 4. We're going to use gold for
Well, basically this whole thing is going to be printed in gold. So we're going to choose as our primary color, we're going to choose, well, we got to kind of make gold because they don't have gold as a color here. So let's start with orange, and we're going to tell it, I typically use Hatchbox PLA. Whoop. And we're going to go custom, and let's just kind of do, how do you make, actually, you know what, let's go with yellow with a little bit of orange, and yeah, probably about there. It really doesn't matter. All that the palette is going to do is grab the material that we feed into that input, into this input here. But we're going to start with that as our base. We're going to, whoops, we're going to also choose black. And we're selecting Hatchbox PLA for all of these because I've actually tuned the splicer on my palette to splice Hatchbox PLA to Hatchbox PLA in a certain way, tuning the heating, the compression, and the cooling just right so that my splices are strong and they don't break. So we got black. Our third color is going to be, let's make it red, also Hatchbox PLA. And our last color, we're going to choose white, Hatchbox PLA. I don't know why it thinks that the whole thing needs to be white, but yeah. So Canvas isn't a perfect program yet, but does pretty good. So let's just go ahead and select our model. We're going to paint it right off the bat. I'm going to tell it to use gold for all of this stuff, because the whole thing I want gold. There. Make sure that it's all going to be gold. Okay, so it's going to print the whole thing in gold, except for these next parts that we're going to be painting other colors here. So we're going to zoom in on this, and let's choose black. Let's actually create regions, and what this will hopefully do is create regions that we don't have to paint by hand, but can just use the paint bucket tool or the fill tool. Well, it looks like for the most part, yeah, that's what it's going to do. But we're going to go around and, yeah, see, like I said, not quite perfect yet, but it does what it can. So some of this we're going to have to paint by hand, it looks like. We can change these parameters here, but a lot of times I don't find that that really helps. I wanna say that it does, but it doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and change it, change it back to what it was. These parts here, let's just go, whoa, way too big. Let's just go ahead and do that. Make sure, nope, didn't get that side quite yet. Gonna turn things around. Oop. See, now I'm painting the actual polygons rather than faces. it all. Okay, so we wanted this part to be red. Let's see if it'll paint this part red. Yep, painted that part red. And then this part we wanted to be white. There. And that's that. I'm just gonna, because we didn't start off with all gold to begin with, I'm just gonna kind of look around one last time, make sure I got everything being gold and nothing else white. But yeah, other than that, I think that looks pretty good. So we're gonna save and return. That brings us back to here. Now, here's the unfortunate thing with printing in multiple colors. You have to have a purge tower. And so often with canvas, that purge tower is pretty big. The nice thing though is that we only need a purge tower up to this point. So it's going to print all these layers, and it's going to print them with the purge tower pretty thin, pretty hollow up until it gets to this point where it actually has to change colors. So this, where it gets to this layer in the purge tower is going to be pretty solid, but after that it won't even have a purge tower above that. But what we have to do now is arrange things on the print bed so that let's choose the move tool so that it'll fit both Wally's body and the purge tower. And you can actually change the shape and location of the purge tower. What you can't choose is the size, unfortunately. But we can do this. And the purge tower is still going to be there, but it won't interfere with the rest of Wally. And I make sure to use Slicer. It's experimental right now with Canvas, but it typically does a better job than the Kiss Slicer, which is the default. So we're going to slice, and this might take a moment. Alright, so we got the whole thing sliced, and see, this is the purge tower that I was talking about. And maybe I need to explain the reason for the purge tower. Anytime you transition between colors or materials with the palette, that transition is not a hard transition, meaning that you have your filaments spliced together, and it basically has to purge what's left of one color out of the nozzle and make sure that the new color is coming out before it will continue printing. So we can slice down through our model. See, that this is why I was saying up until the point where it actually has to start changing colors, it's going to print the purge tower pretty thin, almost hollow in fact. Once it starts printing those other colors though, it has to print more material on the purge tower to make sure that you have a clean transition between colors. So we start with black and then we get into red and white and we go from there. But after that, after it prints those colors, you see we're still slicing upward, but there's no more purge tower. It stops printing because at that point we're not changing colors anymore. So let's send this to the palette, and this program is actually in the cloud, but my palette is also connected to my account in the cloud. So we just send it to the palette, and we're gonna choose the thing we just sliced, and actually I can control this part from the touch screen on the palette itself, so we'll do that.
So now I'm standing here next to my Palette 3 Pro. I've got all of my filaments lined up, gold, black, red, and white, just like we had them set up in Canvas. And I'll do my best to show you what goes on here. There's a touch screen down there. It's kind of hard to get to because of where it is, where I have the way I have things arranged on my printing table here. But I'm gonna tap Start Print. And from Canvas, if you remember, we sent the file to the palette. So we're going to go local. And then it has a list of all the files that we have on the palette. And we're going to choose this top one because that's the newest one. And you see it has a little picture right here of our model all painted and ready to go. So I'm going to tap that and Start Print. The palette is going to start up. It's going to start asking me for filaments. So down there it shows me input 1. Input 1 is lit up and it says it wants light yellow. Well, we made it gold. So I'm just going to feed that in to the machine. Does its little wiki magic there. So now it's asking for black in input 2. Input 2 is lit up. Just have to find the end here. Here we go. I'm going to feed it in. And it grabs it. Now it's asking for red in input 3. We're going to feed red into input 3. Grabs it. Now it's asking for white in input 4. So we're going to feed white into input 4. I'll just take it. There it goes. Now what it's going to do is it's going to start splicing filaments together. Since pretty much all of the first half or so of the model is gold, it's going to just start feeding gold like crazy. It's not actually going to start splicing until it gets up to the point in the layers where it needs to start changing colors. So it spits it out here, and the touch screen gives you step by step what you need to do. So right now it's heating up the printer, and it's telling me to load the filament into the extruder. Now we don't want to actually push the tube into the extruder yet, but we're going to pull this out just a little ways here. There we go. I'm going to feed it in. And now that we've fed it down to where the gears engage the filament, now we push the tube in. We go next, next, and I typically do a smart load here. You see we have a smart load. We do that. It's now loading into the extruder. You can see watching this tube that the tube is moving little by little because it's actually loading the filament down into the nozzle. And it only spits out a little bit, but then it tells us to remove that which has been extruded. It's still actually loading. There, it says it's complete. We tap next. And it says to remove the bit that's been extruded. It dripped a little bit more, so pull that. Now, when I tap Start Printing, it's going to do exactly that. Because this is a Prusa, it's going to do its magic little bed alignment. And here we go. So I have it all printed, all the pieces are here. Not entirely sure how this is all gonna go together, but I'm pretty sure some super glue is gonna be involved. This piece I thought was interesting. This is all one piece that printed. This is his body and the kind of legs that hold the tracks. And this is the part that I used the Palette 3 Pro on. So this is the front here. And so I used the Palette 3 Pro to print this part so that I could print Wally's logo in black, red, and white. I also decided to use the Palette 3 Pro on his chest piece, this rail here, because if you watch the movie and you look at Wally, this part right here is an LCD screen that shows his battery level, and this here is a little red button that's surrounded by black. If I hadn't used the Palette 3 Pro on this, it would just all print silver, which would be fine too, but you know, if you can do something better, why not do it better? Let's see if we can figure this out. So let's start with this piece here, because this is kind of the meat and potatoes of it all. So we're gonna kind of fold this up, and yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. So this is the front. The Wally logo goes on the front. This is his neck. It's gonna go on top. Let's go ahead and kind of snap the neck into place. So then these will be the sides, and I see little holes here that these tabs will go into. Snap. Oh, I guess I better bring the bottom up. Okay, got one wall snapped into place, I think. See if we can do the same with this other wall. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And the top is gonna go like that. I'm thinking I might want to use some super glue. Oh my gosh, this front I should have had in place too before I snapped those walls on. How in the heck do they expect you to... Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, and so then these are going to, these legs are going to get pushed up, snap into place. Oh, but careful not to push too hard on the other pieces so as to break them. So there's that. So we have the main part of the body assembled. Probably be good to get this chest piece. Okay, that could just be slid back in place. Okay. And I guess this is just gonna slide in. I'm thinking once I get all of this together that I'm gonna want to probably use a little bit of super glue to make it stay together. Maybe not, because it looks like it's supposed to just kind of snap together. Oh, before I do this, I can see what I'm gonna wanna do, because these rails here, I'm gonna wanna put Wally's arms into. So this is the part of the arm that attaches. And then, okay. So let's do that. I think the arms are agnostic as to which side they go on, so I'm gonna put them down into here, and then as I slide his chest into place, oh come on, come on, don't make a liar out of me. Oh, I see. And the chest piece kind of slides into the rails. And the, oh my gosh. Okay, okay. Okay. All right, done. Well, with this part anyway. So I've got all these arms here. And I have his hands. These are gonna snap into his arms, so so his hands will articulate and his arms will stretch. There we go. Hands and arms are in. His head. So his head printed like this. That's my glue. Stay. But it's on like these joints here, and I can see that there's a hole that goes through his eyes, so that's going to get pushed in there, snapped into place. And then I think, okay, now his eye sockets here, I've got these white pieces that are gonna get inserted into there, but I'm gonna want to use some glue here. This is Gorilla Glue. It's kind of like molasses. It's not very runny at all. It's more like a kind of a gel. So you gotta kind of tap it down. Just tap it down. Tap, tap, tappy. All right, so that'll hold that piece in place. Just a little dab. Put the other eye piece there. Now, if I was thinking, I would have used the palette to print the head too, because his eyes would probably be more black on the inside, but I printed his whole head in silver. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then it's gonna just, there are two kind of little nubbins here at the top of the neck, and those are just gonna kind of snap on, or snap into the head. And doot, 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 you know, like in the movie. Okay, cool. Yeah, so his head will move a little bit to either side, and then his neck articulates. The only problem is that I put his head on backwards. So now I gotta tear his head off and hope that I don't break the little pieces that hold it in place. Nah, they'll be fine. All right, put his head back on the right way this time. There we go. Doot, 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 doot. Okay. We're looking good. Arms, I'm gonna move them back here. There we go. So this is really taking shape here. So there are a few pieces here that need to be glued on. Got all these little wheels here that go on the side. So A little bit of glue there. Add a wheel. Glue there. Wheel. Great. It's coming along. Now, before I get crazy and snap these tracks on, there are little pieces that go kind of around his, like the bottom of his main part of his body here, these little corner pieces. And so I'm gonna go ahead and glue those into place. And looking at pictures of Wally, I realized I should have printed these in silver as well, but you know, I printed them in black, and I think I'll even like them better in black. It adds a little more contrast to the whole build. So these pieces are kind of notched right here. So it looks like it's meant to bend. And so it's gonna go right here, it looks like. And then this front kind of has a little bit of an overhang. And I think the black kind of adds a little something to it. Like I said, gives a little contrast, but it's gonna need some glue because obviously otherwise it's not gonna stay on. You can see, well, maybe you can't see on the camera, but the inner side of this has a ridge that this is gonna go into. So yeah, that's exactly what we got going on here. So very careful with the glue. Of course, being Gorilla Glue, I mean, nothing about a gorilla is very subtle, and Gorilla Glue is no different. Of course, I'm going to glue my fingers to it too, I'm sure. Of course I have it on my fingers. Oh gosh. I guess there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of my skin on Wally. I mean, that way my daughter will know it's from me. There. One of the most delicate pieces is on. Well, two of the most delicate pieces. Now these are going to go on the bottom corners somehow. And I'm thinking that the bigger ones go in front. But, you know, I have been known to be wrong before. Doesn't happen often. Oh no, here we go. There are actually notches in the bottom that correspond to the pieces so that they go on just like that. Okay, now I know what I'm doing. So add some glue. Make sure I get it on my fingers. Perfect. Be sure and add way too much glue. It doesn't work well unless you add way too much. And then be sure and put your fingers in it so that you have to wipe it all away with a paper towel. Now the front pieces also have a little notch here that correspond with the piece that goes there. So you just gotta orient it right, which I'm failing at miserably. There we go. I just had it on the wrong side. So got this one, then got another one there. Ah, my fingers. And again, if you don't add way too much, it's probably not going to work as well. All right. So Wally's ready for the tracks. Now these should be self-explanatory, I would think. I mean, you got the wheels, you got the tracks. Should just be a matter of laying the tracks down, I would think, and then putting the wheels on. And at the ends, it should just kind of snap together. Probably have to be a little bit more dexterous than I am. Okay, so that you can see what I'm gonna do, it's kind of hard for me to show you on the camera, but the ends will just kind of snap together like that. Basically, they'll link together the way all the pieces are linked together. So I'm gonna do that now. And all right, got one side. Now the other side. All right, Wally, put your hands in the air. All right, got one side on, got the other side on, everything rolls. Now, one little touch that's left to add is this little guy. If you remember in the movie, he had this little piece that he put his little lunchbox on. That goes right there. But it doesn't stay in place very well, unless I'm doing it wrong, which, you know, is likely. Oh, okay, I see. So it's meant to actually push down in. Now what would have been really cool is if they would have included the lunchbox as well, that you could hang on there. But as it is, Wally is done. And he's ready to be wrapped and given as a gift to my 4-year-old daughter on Christmas morning. He's excited. While I was making a present for my daughter, my youngest daughter, I also made a present for my youngest son, which is this little Jeep here. Similar to Wally, all separate parts, printed in different colors, but just a fun little idea. And I will put links to both of these toys that you can print for yourself or for your children in the description. And that's all the time that I have because that took a lot of time. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the little bell icon so you get notified anytime I upload something new. And until next time, if you have a 3D printer, go make something awesome.